What's going on? Your boy Disa. I'm gonna reconnect. It's been a long day as usual. Um, I just want to welcome everybody. Give me a minute. I know how this thing go. Let me see. Usual. Okay, maybe it's public already. Sometimes I have to go in here and edit the privacy and stuff like that. Let me see what we got. Okay, I got I don't know why I'd always do that. Facebook retarded. Man. Peace, everybody. What's going on? It's your boy Disa again. Reconnect. This the Reconnect Saturdays. I want to thank everyone who may be watching or getting ready to watch with us today. We got a good one going on. Got our brother, researcher, scholar, historian, Mu'sab Yasir Bey, themorishumper.com. He's going to be falling in to give us a really good interview today. Though, just thinking about the way some of the things, the way our life go, right? I've never been the type of person that could how can I say this? I was never really good with working for other people. It's always been something that's been kind of hard for me to do. Even before got into the knowledge of self, became a member of the Nation of Islam back in 2004. It was something that was still hard for me to do. But I didn't know about the other side, about doing for self in the way that I learned under the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So there are things that comes with that, though. There are some drawbacks. I don't want to call them drawbacks, but there are some tough obstacles to overcome when you do that. When you go for self, when you doing for self, as a black man, black woman, I believe in America, there's some drawbacks to that, and some of the drawbacks are having to work to build a clientele, having to work to build a base, and developing a relationship with your community. I don't want to say those are drawbacks, but those are some obstacles that are really difficult at times to manage, I would say, because when you're working to put things together like that relationship sometimes is really hard, especially when we're dealing with the black community. I hate to say that, but it is. It's the actual facts of it. It's pretty tough trying to put something together when you got people that's always looking for the hookup. You got people that will try to flat out lowball you, or people who just and it's a shame that with our people we really don't respect the efforts of our own community when we're trying to do something to build something. And then there are other things where you have the competition. Competition isn't a problem, but when it's underhanded competition, other people who will try to undercut your prices, who will try to sell your name, especially when you're trying to do it from an honest standpoint. Those are some of the issues and obstacles that I think many of us have faced. working to build our own business, our own whatever it is, when you're trying to start a school or something like that, or um, you're trying to sell baked goods or whatever it could be. There are many obstacles that are out there. You have, and then you just have people who would just flat out hate on you. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that comes with a lot. I see you in the waiting room, Doctor. I'll bring you up on in a minute. But yeah, so those are some of the things that we can do, that we have that are very tough to deal with um, when you're building a base. You don't always have the capital, that you want, that you need to market yourself. You don't always have the teamwork from individuals. Sometimes you going at it alone um, when you're trying to build something. So it's so many different things, so many different obstacles that are that stand in our way when we're trying to do things. And then you look at it and sometimes you say, shit, man, well, maybe I need to just do like every do like everybody else, and you know fall in line, but and just give me a regular job and just do that. And it's hard to really think like that. Sometimes you have to just stay the course and do your best to push forward, and you'll see yourself through. I've had many ventures that I've taken on to do things, and whether it's been starting my own business, been a barber doing my camera work, or even with or doing things like being an activist, man. We Dr. and I, we were activists, and we saw some ugly sides of activism. Um, saw some of the most pretentious shit um, that young men, who were like in our late 20s, early 30s at the time, um, coming into those things, seeing those things happen, and you're like, man, what the hell is this about? And I'm gonna bring Dr. on. Maybe you want to touch on it a little bit. Doc, what's up, man?
What's up, King?
Could you
What's
hear?
up, King?
Could you hear what I was talking about, brother?
Yeah, I started laughing when you said we seen some crazy shit. So it's like I started laughing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because we see some stuff, man. I mean, and I don't want to um, throw the elder under the bus, so I won't. If you want to, you can, but I'm not going to do that.
I'm not
We
either.
seen, you know, uh,
What I will say is I learned that when I wrote this in a rhyme, like um poverty is not just economics or environmental, it's also a state of mind. And that's what I learned from those experiences. You know what I mean?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's that was one of the things, man. I could say I picked up from that, man. When we were out there doing that, man. Is that it's a sometimes, brother. When you go in and you're a hungry young lion, as your mother used to call us, the two young lions. Um, you're hungry, and you're ready to fight, and you're not just ready to fight. You're ready to fight to win. And then when you see like, hey man, wait a minute, they ain't even really trying to win this shit, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
man. It's like that's why like you have like the groups of people that say, "Oh, y'all just poverty pimping," you know what I mean,
right,
or y'all just
right.
keep. I understand exactly, because some people are
Yeah, ambulance chasing. You learn what that
ambulance
is. You
chasing. Yeah,
absolutely, you absolutely learn what that is, man. And that's something, man. That's really what's the word? That's really surprising to see because when you're not in it and you hear people say that, you almost say, man, that's the white man talking through them, or you hear a white man say, you say, it's just racism. You know what I'm saying? But when you see it, and you
Yeah,
see,
yeah. And we was at the front row, like
yeah,
it was
yeah,
very distasteful, very
just
distasteful.
distasteful. It was disheartening. Um, it was a lot of things, man. That lot of adjectives to use to describe it.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And then
know,
it was heartbreaking because we have those circle of friends that they might not be what we own, but
right?
they know what we are, and they'll say stuff like, "Man, they just trying to. They don't really think that, or they ain't really about that.
Yeah,
They just like we are. This, that, and the third." And then when you when you on the front line and you begin to see what they saying is has some truth to it,
true
it's
to it.
like
Yeah,
it's hurtful.
it is. It is, man. It's almost, it could be, it can almost be life changing in the way that you see, the black struggle, man, and the things that our people, we see the fight, we looking at the fight, like, man, yo, we could do better than this, man. And where Dr. King, where Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad left off, man. We could pick up and we could jump in and do our thing, and then you see, some of the elders, you don't really, and some of these elders have so much reach and so much pull, man, that it's almost, it's kind of like, it's damaging, so damaging to the culture. I would say, to see them overgo work over justice for money. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And
yeah,
for cash benefits of some sort, man. And one of the biggest things that I can remember, and we are, I know we always talk about this, we reminisce on it a lot, is the when the baby Ayanna Stanley Jones had was shot in the neck by the police officer. She was laying on the couch after they threw in the bang grenade into the house, man. And we go over there, and we do our investigation, and just kind of like to see what's going on in the neighborhood. And then when we get to this brother who was the attorney, he was supposed to take over the thing.
it just yeah. Go ahead. I'm
And then,
sorry.
no, brother, no. And then to see some Detroit politicians and a national, um I guess, a national figure in the black struggle come in, and he take this damn thing. And he tells us, we with y'all. He tells our guy Ron, rest,
No, he
may he
told
rest
me.
in peace.
He told me.
Oh, he told you. Okay, that
Yeah,
he.
Ron was moving. Ron was moving around. I
Yes,
was
sir.
speaking to, and I normally don't do office work. I'll be in the field. But
Right.
it was so crazy because you remember when it happened, we were on scene, then it was so big, it was because it had caught national news.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that was the
Right.
difference. Most of the cases that we were involved in were local.
We're local. Yes. Yes.
This was national news. And
Right.
so what ended up happening was we had to all do things that was outside of what our specific duties were. So
Yes,
remember,
sir.
I didn't answer no phones. I wasn't doing no radio. I didn't do
Right.
radio. You did radio around. I didn't,
Yes.
I didn't do radio. But I did that day. I did, and then when the calls was coming in, he was like, "You got to take calls." It's like, all right. So I took calls, and no, he told me directly. We ain't got to say no names, but it was a couple of people that told me directly.
Yes, sir.
And he's like, "Cause y'all already doing the work, y'all already have," and it crushed me. It because I didn't know that side of it.
Yeah.
And even the black attorney, it didn't seem like when we got to his office, it didn't seem like it was about the family. It was about what could be gained financially
Became
because of
financial.
this travesty. And it was like how Yasin say in mathematics, I always say, you wonder why the straw broke the camel's back. Here's the secret. It's a million other straws underneath it. It's all mathematics, and That was the last straw. Well, that was, the situation where you were going through personally.
Yeah.
And that was the last straw for me. But it it seems as though we didn't want to reconcile or try to solve issues when we had the data, we
Right.
had the information, we had the methodology that we could employ. We had uh, a lot of things that can really help reconcile this specific issue in this specific neighborhood, and they didn't want to do that
Right.
because they were sent their movement, or how they seen themselves in the movement, was just dealing with uh the police brutality from a, how would I say it, reactionary standpoint,
That's it.
instead of us being proactive and like, oh, hold on, y'all got the stats, y'all saying it's not even drugs, it's not breaking and entering, it's not murder, it's not none of that. The biggest issue in this area, as for the reason of police in this area in such a way, is domestic violence.
Right.
Oh no,
Yep.
we was already going over, training and how to deal with teaching conflict resolution and different things in that, and we had already had a name. So
Yes,
we were
sir.
sort of respected in the community. We didn't even have to build that.
We
We
didn't.
could
No.
just go there and set up shop and start teaching and talking to our people, or at least
Yep.
doing something that was
But
proactive
yeah,
versus being reactionary. You know what I mean? And that's when you're like, okay, this is what they want to do.
this is what they want to do. Yep. And then just like we were saying earlier, just to see them chase money. The brothers in the studio. Mu'sab, you ready to come on, brother? Let me see if I can. Okay, I think your brother's ready. Peace, God. What's going on,
Peace,
brother?
peace, peace. Can you hear
What's
me
going on,
okay?
brother?
Peace, God.
Yes, sir. We hear
Yes,
you
sir.
fine, brother.
What's up, brothers? How y'all doing?
Doing
Well,
great,
sir.
man. How about yourself? Happy to have you.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. How's everything going, man? I'm excited to be here.
Yes,
I
sir. We
greatly
Thank you. We're
appreciate
excited to
the
have you.
invite.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love those pictures behind you too, brother.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Appreciate it.
yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. How you been, man? How's everything going with you, brother?
Everything's going, man. Everything's going good. Working on a few things out here, man. Apologies for being late, man. I'm
Oh,
just
you fine.
working. I got like
Oh
a
no, you
few
fine,
different
brother.
things going on.
Yes, sir. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, you were fine. I was just hoping that you got the message I sent you. That's I was like, okay, I hope the brother see that. But
Yeah.
yes, sir. I know one thing, brother. I wanted before we get into the meat of the thing. You got some ties to the Detroit area, huh?
Yeah, I got brothers, I got brothers and sisters that I've been knowing for years. I have family members off on the east, I believe the east side of Detroit. Hadn't been up there in a while, but I actually have my to tell you the truth, my great grandmother.
Oh wow.
We're my dad's side is from that area,
Okay. Yes, sir.
on like
That's
three, 4 years, 4 generations ago.
okay. Yes, sir. That's what's up,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
That's what's up.
yeah.
Okay, brother. Like I said, man, we're very excited to have you, man. On here. If you could just give the people just a little bit. Well, let me give people a little bit about yourself. How I know you. The brother is always from. Um, Me and the brother became acquainted through Facebook. And the brother was always dropping science. I think the one time, the very first interaction we had actually was on the post from something you and Dr. Ali was discussing,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was about seven
Yeah.
years ago, man.
We had a few differences about a few things. I was more in disagreement with his approach to a certain. This was like
No,
7 years ago, I think.
yeah, it was 7 years ago. I think it was
Yeah,
something. I don't know if it has something to do with the was it the brother polite situation?
I
But
believe so, man. I think we had a disagreement on his approach. That
yeah,
brother was fiery back then, very fiery, and
yeah,
I think he's a little bit he's strong headed in his approach, and I was just trying to get him to see different vistas of approaching, because he's a powerful brother.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because he, sometimes he'd go at people a little hard, brother.
Yeah,
Um, but
but
yes,
that's
sir.
that
So
warrior spirit in him, though.
that's absolutely that, brother. That's absolutely that. But sometimes we got to take that warrior spirit and turn into a soldier's mind. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm gonna give you a little bit about myself, brothers.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
I'm out of Houston, Texas. I'm born and
Okay.
raised on the north side of Houston, Texas. But I travel all over the world. I was recently a part of, well, some years ago, part of the Moorish Science Temple here. I come out of the temple, but my dad is Nation of Islam Mosque 45 from back in
Okay.
the late 70s, early 80s. My mom was an organizer. She was a part of the Black Liberation Movement, Black Panthers, back
Oh, okay.
in her teens in the late 70s, early 80s. She had affiliations. I just come from a family full of Black Liberation Movement. And I grew up on the northeast side of Houston. It's like Detroit or Harlem. We had a Black curriculum, Black just Black everything, Black parades. It was like living an HBCU experience,
Yes, sir.
and that Black pride. Black teachers, Black professors that we were being taught by, just in the community. On a homestead, in the homestead area. I was raised in a neighborhood called Northwood Manor, but my grounding came from my father in terms of Islam. My Black liberation advocacy and my strong labor union ties and my push for workers' rights, in particular Black workers' rights, come from my mom. And I'm also a part of a union. So we kind of liaise with other unions around the world and around America and around the world. So, I get that Marxist, capitalist, um, socialism thing from her, and I get the science of Islam from him. To make it applicable, not the dogmatic parts of Islam, but the wisdom that lie behind that. And
Absolutely.
we came from the podcasting world a few years ago. We had a podcast called The Safe House with a few brothers, where it was advocating towards the advocation of Black men and giving Black men a voice to come, speak. But me and the brothers had a few creative differences, but for the most part, I've been making my rounds the last last 7 years on different podcasts. And
Okay.
my biggest one to date was Brandy Webb's, the filmmaker Betrayal of the Nation. And
Okay.
once we did that, it got around pretty good, because she invited me to the Native American history program, where it was 5 Native American women, and she wanted me to come in and make
Yes,
the
sir. So,
African/Moorish connection with the Native American women. And so that was a great demonstration, because there was a lot of stuff that they didn't know in terms of their ties to African Americans or the Moorish or Black American tie, But I'm a writer, you know what I'm saying? I in college I was a part of the NAACP. After that, I was a part of the Black Student Association. It's just been a part of a number of different communities, and heavily involved in the Shape Center here every now and then in terms of lectures and things of that nature. When Dr. Umar comes, our brother Sabir Bey, just in the community, man, and just trying to play my part. But now, the last 4 years, I jumped into the writing, and we actually started writing to add ancillary to our podcast, The Safe House, before that dissolved. But the writings are served as largely as a scaffolding for the contribution of labor towards the advocacy of Black males. And in my writings, my mission was really to underscore the colluding forces of Black males' incest and oppression by highlighting the metastasizing effects of white supremacy and the astringent nature of anti-Black misandry, which is the of
Yes.
Black American men. And in the writings, really, I'm just seeking to implore Black men to liaise together politically, economically, and socially with others as the duties to young Black men and Black boys, and so we can and strive to create this countervailing force against our oppression and our suppression and the social stigma we have here in America. And in this particular setting, I'm a Black masculinist, meaning I advocate for the rights of Black men and Black boys. I say that with my chest, and I have to be clear that in this space, dealing
Share
with
with your
these
chats,
issues.
baby.
I'm advocating for black men and black boys, and my North Star is echoed in the wisdom out of the biblical pericope, Matthew 25:40 through 45. And whatsoever you do to the least of your brothers and sisters, you do unto us. And since we're the bottom cast of the bottom casted, this serves as the dialectic of my writings, the dialectic of my interest. So,
Yes.
I'm working on my seventh piece. My two articles really hit a type of prominence when Dr. Tommy Curry and Dr. Tia Son Johnson got a hold to him.
Yes.
Oh, really?
That really,
Yes, sir. Beautiful.
yeah, and I really have to salute to Dr. Tommy Curry because, he really showed me a lot of love in terms of sharing my article, especially the other side and Pieces of a Man. When Pieces of a Man hit, he showed a lot of love because he's out there in Edinburgh, Scotland, teaching.
Mm-hmm.
He had mishaps and a kerfuffle out here in Texas. At Texas A&M, where the feminists and the white supremacists kind of ran them out and blackballed him. So he ended up going to Edinburgh and doing a lot of work there. But I sent him via Twitter the other side and Pieces of a Man, and it just blew up from there. And the secret sauce to everything was they got me up to thousands and thousands of views and hits. Is I'm a part of what's the Passport Bros.
Okay.
And when I uploaded the article on Passport Bros, brothers from all over the world, man, you wouldn't even believe it. You wouldn't believe how fast it took up between Dr. Tommy Curry, Dr. Tia Son Johnson, and Passport Bros. That's what really made the articles grow legs, and I was just excited,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's beautiful. And as a matter of fact, to talk about Pieces of a Man, which is something that as a matter of fact, I went over again last night, man, and in the way that you described the graphic details of some of the lynchings. Excuse me, something just happened up here with the computer. I don't know what this is. Okay. Some of the lynchings and the castration of brothers in that article, man, and it was just a reminder, and I know that those things happen to us, physically, but to see them as we look at it, and it's happening to us educationally, it's happening to us financially, you know what I'm saying, in this world, you know what I'm saying,
Psychologically.
Oh, yeah.
psychologically.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
psychologically, which I would add is, not to cut you off, Adisa, is one of the biggest things. But go ahead, brother.
No, yes, sir. And like you said, psychologically, and just looking at some of the things that even in our own, in fact, let me stop right here. Riz, we got my man Riz. Riz came in. Brother was talking. I couldn't say nothing to you, Riz. Riz, you there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you just
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Since you did just bring me up, I want to take the opportunity, even though I'm the newest member of the podcast, just want to take the opportunity to say, thank you for showing up and, giving your time to us, and just welcome you here in this space, man. You always
I'm honored, man. I'm honored.
All right. Shoot, Adisa has been sharing your work with me over the years, and I've truly enjoyed it. I got to make sure I have my dictionary and my thesaurus handy when I pull it up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go
My
ahead.
mom was a school teacher, man, and she was a stickler for, you should talk how you write and write how you talk. That was our whole thing.
Yes,
exactly. And like I said, and I appreciate that, man, because so much of what we consume is written on a 7th grade level, but you think you're doing mental gymnastics. So it's good to stretch your brain out and exercise a little bit. And I do appreciate that. So I was just like, appreciate your work. I appreciate your time. Appreciate your efforts out there in the field. Just truly thank you, man.
Yeah, I'm doing it for us, brother. We're doing it for this next generation. None of this is about us. We're gonna be here for a short period of time, and it's all about the idea, not killing the idea. Because we at war, man, and a lot of different stratas.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Indeed, on multiple fronts.
Yeah, on multiple fronts, bro.
So with as much get back what I was saying, I was going to say, with us psychologically, I think one of the biggest what's the word I'm looking for? I guess one of the biggest hits to our psychology as black men is the way that our black women have taken on
Been
a lot of
said. 'Cause that's we need to get into it, man. You know,
right,
that's
yeah,
I'm chopping at the bits. I'm ready.
right, yeah, what our black women have uh, taken hold to this. I guess you could say this mantle that was passed to them from white feminists, and have really ran with it. What they're giving you the insight to delve into that, or giving, I don't want to say the insight, but had lit the fire in you to delve into that part of our struggle here as it is in present day.
Well, I noticed, when we do our research, man, and I'm a part of a research team as well, and certain glaring things kept popping up to me, man, and really jumping out at me. And that's why I say the metastasizing of white supremacy, because you can't look at it as a white face, just a white face anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And largely our problems and our pushbacks are coming in different other avenues and other groups, and some of our women are playing a part in it too. It's not like it hadn't been happening, but now
Right.
it's becoming more glaring, And when you look at a lot of our struggles, man, is a lot of it. Yeah, we had a lot of turncoats in our struggle, but right now we're really facing and this yawning abyss between brothers and sisters, right? With this women with this feminist, white liberal feminist axiology and philosophy that's thrown into relationship matters, or market value principle thrown into relationships. But it was none of our philosophies in terms of the Black liberation movement. If you study the African Blood Brotherhood, Brother Paul Robeson, Brother Noble Drew Ali, you wonder when this particular thing came, and this joining abyss and split came through. And when you started studying, what's the brother name that was part of the Lyndon B. Johnson administration, the Daniel Moynihan report, the Kerner Commission, you start stringing those threads together and looking at the sinews of what happened in between the 50s up until now, then you'll see a lot of black women organizations jumping out of the Black liberation movement and liaising with white feminists, Gloria Steinem, Gloria Allred. And so, when I look at these problems, when we checking out these, I call them mercenaries, these women mercenaries online with this hypergamy talk.
Right.
What men could do for them, or what that's not us, but I had to go back to unspool from the thinking around that, right? I never look at the problem itself. I look at how a problem works, or what are some of the conditions that cause the problem to live, and how do these ideas get refurbished and refabricated over time. Because if you notice, people die, but the institution is still left there, right?
Yes.
And so, my dad put me on a brother named William Julius Wilson, a professor back in the 90s, and he was showing me a lot of things about how whenever we advocate for Black men and Black boys, not only the biggest force we have to go against is a lot of these feminist organizations whenever we talk about doing stuff for Black men and Black boys. Even when you have certain Europeans on board with you, you have to watch out for liberal white feminists in certain faction of Black feminist organizations that come and try to derail anything that has to do with uplifting Black men and Black boys.
Lisa?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, brothers. I was about to lose power here. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm getting my power plug.
Okay.
You got something for him, Doctor? I'm sorry.
Yes. So, what do you think of Kimberly Crenshaw's perspective of intersectionality as it relates to feminism, and how that plays into being a Black masculinist?
You see, Kimberly Crenshaw is very interesting to me, man, because if you look at her work prior to the intersectional, she was Black Power.
Yes,
Something
she was.
happened between 1990 and like 1995 with her. You know, it was an awful one. We were all in the struggle together, especially when she was helping brother with the critical race theory. What's the brother name? Dr. Derek Bell Bottoms.
Bell, yeah, Mr. Bell.
When you look at critical race theory and you look at critical race theory and jurisprudence, you understand what brother Dr. Derek Bell was trying to export, and she was one of the ones who helped label it critical race theory. He came up with the theory, but she worked with him on it. So if you look at what happened in between early 90s and 95, all of a sudden she came in with this intersectionality. Now the intersectionality the sisters was pushing in the communist movement back in the early 30s and 40s was different. They just wanted to get people to understand some of the oppressive nature of white supremacy as in with the domestic work. Because we were never not working. So I don't know where women get this thing from.
I always say that.
Taken care of. You know, I put that in one of my, I think the third article, that we've always been a proletariat class of people. So when you look at the early feminist movement, it wasn't as disjointed or a disjunction in it with the Black liberation movement as it is now. Intersectionality was really them trying to underscore the effects of white supremacy when it comes to Black women as domestic workers, as getting paid at a certain amount, but never to say it trumps Black men or Black male needs, because they understood that the focus was to neutralize the Black male, you know. But she comes in when she did intersectional feminist. She was worried about mostly getting ascending up the corporate rung.
Okay, I think I had you freeze a little bit, brother. Did he freeze on your end, Adisa?
Yeah, he froze just a little bit, brother. What was the last part?
Can you repeat the last part, brother?
I was saying that when Kimberly Crenshaw comes into the after 93, when her version of intersectionality kind of parted ways with our movement as a unit, she was more pushing for Black women to get into ascend the corporate rung, corporate ladder. She wasn't fighting for the Black liberation struggle anymore. Or she wasn't fighting for better jobs or workers' rights when it comes to Black men. She was arguing the case for Black women to be in the corporate world, not changing the system, but being a part of the system. Not workers' rights, but being a part of, you know, in a professional manner in terms of lawyers and judges and things like that. But the question is when and how and why did Kimberly Crenshaw flip? That's the question.
Do you have a perspective on that? Because that's an interesting take on that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like what's the Supreme Court judge name? Clarence Thomas. When you study Clarence Thomas, he was Black liberation all the way up into college. You know, his idol was Malcolm X. He memorized all of Malcolm X speeches, right?
I never knew that. You just taught me something.
Yeah, you look at all of some of his dissenting opinions. Even today, it still has Black liberation, Black nationality infused in it. I mean, don't get it twisted with him. But what happened to him? Why did he flip? And so when you study his book or you study the writings about Clarence Thomas, you know, he was having trouble passing a certain class at his university. I don't know if he went to Harvard or what, but he had a hard time passing class. As a matter of fact, he was failed. And in the summer of that year, he wanted to pass the class. So what he did was went on a writing spree against affirmative action. He submitted it back to his professor, going against affirmative action, the thing that got him in the college.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The thing that got him in the college, he railed against it, as judges do, because they know how to argue both sides, right?
Right.
So when he went on his spree going against affirmative action, that's when they decided to pass him. In my opinion, that's when he flipped, because prior to then, he was a Black nationalist. And you know, that's, if you go study his work, you will be confounded at how radical he was. But when you asked about Kimberly Crenshaw, it reminds me of Kimberly Crenshaw because you have to ask yourself what made them flip. And in my opinion, I surmise that Clarence Thomas is where Black liberation or Black nationalists go when we lose and don't want to fight anymore. They become conservative. They become a few brothers that came out of the Black Panther movement and became conservative, had more conservative leanings, and it's kind of like, and I can understand it in terms of kind of like giving up, like if you can't beat them, join them, or just trying to live a better existence under the suppression. And to me, it's in my opinion, is a coward way out because the whole thing is the struggle. Even if you don't get your reward on this plane, it's all about passing the torch.
That's right.
And I believe with Kimberly Crenshaw, she may have experienced the same thing because when you look at the turncoats in our community who were Black revolutionaries, you have to ask yourself, instead of calling them coons, you got to really study what made them flip, or what were the pivot points in their lives. It's kind of like Samuel L. Jackson. He was a big time revolutionary. He tied up Dr. King at father, and they held a 2-day standoff at his school. I forgot what the rally was about, but I believe it was in the 60s or the early 70s, where they had the Black students that were struggling for something. And he was a part of the Black liberation movement. But if you read some of the things that turned him, he said that he was getting threats for a whole year about the FBI saying that if he didn't jump out of the movement, his whole family would be dead. Now we have the actor Samuel Jackson.
Wow.
I did hear something about that.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because the distaste for me for intersectionality it ain't even really that deep to me. Coming from our struggle as Black people, and Thomas Curry hit on it, and I think I said it to the other doctor that we had on. In dealing with our Black women who subscribe to the ideology of Black feminists, it seems to be a point in time to where they felt that they need to separate themselves from a concept of a white feminist movement. They had to set their own perspectives. And my question to you is, I'm struggling to find out if they themselves had to separate themselves into a subculture of feminism, while at the same time not allowing Black men to subscribe to our own ideas of masculinity. How does that play into the relationship between Black men and women today, from your perspective?
You see, I think the pivot point in that came from the Cohambie River Collective in 1977, when Barbara Smith and a group of other Black feminists decided to separate themselves from the Black liberation struggle with Black men a few years prior. But they realized how racist white women were. Mm-hmm. So they had to separate themselves from white women. I think that the feminists of today didn't learn that lesson from the Cohambie River Collective. I think that nowadays, when Black women say African American or Black whatever, they're talking about themselves. It's almost like they're trying to create a whole nother class of blackness because they don't want to struggle.
Can I pause you? Can I pause you right there? I don't mean to be rude, but Deesa's smiling because he knows what I'm about to say. The next follow-up question to you was going to be this concept of all our women who subscribe to this ideology as a new race.
Yes.
Oh, but I cut you off, so I want you to continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's the other part of it. They're trying to create a whole nother class of blackness, and when they say black men, they're talking about a more of proletariat worker class to be used. You see, this whole country is largely based on classism. And the women that jumped into the feminist movement or subscribed to this ideology, they no longer wanted to struggle. They no longer wanted to fight collectively, and they start seeking emoluments inside the system to say, okay, look, we're not black men. They wanted to ascend up certain wrongs, corporate wrongs, or get certain type of benefits out of the system. But they made this possible during the 60s and 70s when they, issued in welfare, issued in these social programs for sisters, and they enticed them to kind of not keep a black man in the house in terms of, you know what I'm saying? Because they made it real hard for us to get jobs. They made it real, and of course the atmosphere, the politics shaped the atmosphere, and the atmosphere shaped the behavior. The policies are made, and it shapes the behavior of people. They can, when they make policies, they know they can form policies to help keep families together, or they can make policies to entice women to do for self, or to not want to liaise or cooperate with men. And the more they saw, the more they gave black women, the less they got married. But it didn't work for all of ethnicities. It was real. It was really a real big, stark thing with black women once they started giving them social benefits, scholarships, just different social federal benefits. They saw that the marriage rates went down, because they no longer had to, they no longer needed black men to help survive. They had the federal government's act.
Yes, sir. Excuse me for that. I just want to ask one question today. Well, it's a two-parter. And I want to add some context to this first part because it's based off of what you're saying. I had a conversation with a sister on another social media platform, and the sister was saying that we always talk about what white men have done, how white men have taken, black women, because they always come up with this idea that black women are so unprotected and black men didn't protect them. And I said, well, how is that? How is that true when black men are the ones that built those towns that were burned to the ground, and then freeways ran through urban renewal? I said we had already built the safe haven for you, but once those things had taken place, you jumped ship and you ran right into the white man's arms, into his welfare system. Then I also wanted to add this part to that, and if you can, and it's about our masculinity. In that, not that we're not protecting our women, but in this vein, do you think that black men in America have had the chance to set the table for what our masculinity is, and or has it always been? Because in my opinion, our masculinity has always been reactionary, in the sense that whatever happens, our masculinity rises up and we do what needs to be done instead of setting the guidelines and sort of putting drawing the line in the sand, or it's building the hedge around our own community. It seems as if we're everything that we do is sort of reactionary since our sojourn through slavery.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I don't entertain the black woman unprotected thing. I mean, throughout history, and that like when they talk that talk, it's no bigger. The most protected class in this country is, well, first of all, white women. Second of all, women in general, especially black women. You know how many cats that laid down their lives for women in history, even now, dudes that crash out over women, from the young boys to the, you know what I'm saying? Everything that we do is about women and the protection of women. We build for them to bask, to nest in this thing that we build. We build all this stuff for them to nest in. You know what I'm saying? So the unprotected thing, that's just that feminist axiology babble trying to be perpetual or perennial victims. But they learn that from liberal white feminists. So in terms of that, we ain't got to talk about that because they historically we can point to Pieces of a Man was largely about that. You understand? We were hung 99% of the hangings and lynchings.
That's right. That's right.
They lynched them when they couldn't find us.
Right.
They got lynched when they couldn't find us.
Yes, sir.
That 90% of their lynchings were because they couldn't find us.
Right.
Because they couldn't find their uncles or their dads.
Right.
A lot of my people ran up to Chicago and Detroit because they murdered white men over black women.
Yes, sir.
So what are we talking about? They're the most protected. I don't even entertain that. But in terms of masculinity, man, masculinity is just testosterone. It's a drive for power. We've always been the most masculine men in terms of how we carried ourselves.
Yes.
Even coming back from Africa, the whole concept of masculinity is when they look at masculinity, they think of us.
Yes, sir.
When they look at strong, even when you look at all the old movies, who are the most masculine men in Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4? Who was Rocky about?
Right.
Black man helping Rocky fight, either fighting Rocky, helping Rocky beat another black man, or Rocky fighting because his black homie got killed.
Right. Yes.
And
sir.
every time you saw, you know what I'm saying? It was all about Apollo.
Right.
But I'm saying even when you look at Mr. T and the Man Called Hawk back in the day, everything was masculine about it.
I always said that Rocky is the greatest love story ever told between a white dude and a black man.
Exactly.
Hold on, Riz, you said what?
It's all about Apollo. The whole Rocky is about Apollo.
I said, Rocky. The Rocky story is the greatest love story ever told. How Sylvester Stallone felt about Muhammad Ali and that character Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
That's the greatest love story, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No, you're right, brother.
But
go ahead, brother.
To kind of tie that into the Pieces of a Man, when we talk about masculinity, the lynchings were a lot about that. About the severing of body parts, their infatuation with our scrotum, with our penises. All of that comes into the masculine, how they view masculinity and what we embody is being masculine.
Yes,
all different aspects of us. Their biggest thing, the Pieces of a Man really came from my medieval work or medieval study that I was doing with Brother Keenan Booker, the God 720, when his Kicked Out of Heaven book dropped, volume 1, 2, and 3, and some of the things I was studying from Dr. Wesley Muhammad, and I started to see a pattern in that in terms of the hangings, lynchings, and drowning, and severing off the body part. We could do a whole book on their infatuation with African American, especially men body parts.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's a whole science behind that and why they chose young black boys to hang and lynch, and their infatuation with the bloodletting or the drinking of blood from even the youngest black men, in the medieval time, during the times they came up to these. What lynching comes from the medieval time. They brought that up into the 18, 19, 1500s, but it was more of a medieval practice. But there's a whole sorcery that goes in behind that.
No, that's funny that you say that about you. You talked about the young boys, man, because I was, what was that I was watching about the Atlanta child murders, and they were saying that with some of those child murders that they said that the guy couldn't have did some of the stuff that they said he had done, because they were finding little young black boys bodies with needle piercings through their penis and through their testicles, to extract, because when you find out, because I can't think of the doctor's name, he's in the Nation of Islam, and he was teaching that interferon is mainly in young black boys' reproductive system, the stuff that they use to cure cancer, and he was saying that you can draw it, extract it from the young black boys' testicles or penis, and that's what they, it is naturally in young black boys to fight off, those diseases, and they extract it to help with their use for medicinal purposes. And that was funny to hear that, because then to see that, watching about the Atlanta child murders, and they say they found some of the boys' bodies, in strange places and with the needle piercings through the testicles and penis and stuff. I was like, wow, man. And then you just said about blood of young black boys.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was finished, brother.
No, what I was saying is not. You see, that's the work I want to delve into. Pieces of a Man is just the beginning, but the thing is you had this Satanist named Aleister Crowley, and if you ever study the Beast, he was a magician. But if you ever study the Beast, he was a rapist. He was all of that, right? But he took the science of certain sciences and went to the dark path with it. But when you look at his writings, you'll realize how deep he was and why they were committing these things against young men, and what their thought was behind getting the life force energy from pedophilia. And this is it goes way back to the medieval time. But when we're talking about transgenderism, the feminization of black men, testicles, giving out testicles and experiment on it. Dr. Wesley Muhammad has a whole work about that in 1910 with Eugene Steinich and Victor Doran, lesbianist urologists, and some of these Jewish scientists, when they started taking the testicles of black men and experimenting on them and getting energy from the testicles, not just for the sperm, but for the testicles to give them, revitalize them, to give older men energy.
Yes, almost like the Dawn of Youth type. Yes, sir.
Yes. And we had the most testosterone, especially African American men. I mean, African men, period. Especially African American men. If you look at how we were created here in terms of the slave trade, and you know what I'm saying. So it's kind of like we're the apotheosis of they know that, But a lot of the lynchings and the spectacle lynchings were about severing the body parts, preserving certain things, drinking the blood, saving body parts, a sadistic order that they were a part of. And that's a work that really needs to be delved into, because a lot of people ignore why a lot of these kids were coming up missing, and it was black boys. Yes. It was we were a delicacy. They know way more than we know about ourselves, I'll tell you that, in terms of what we have physiologically.
Yeah. Speaking of Dr. Wesley's work, Dr. Wesley had spoken, I think, in the book. The title is a very long title, but I'm just going to call it the Southern Black Manhood book, where he talks about, I think the name is Dr. Robert E. Parks, who could say that the black race was the female of the races. Yeah, have you heard that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and talked about, used it. We just tried to justify it by saying how creative we are, how talented we were, some of the things that we did with creativity, you know what I'm saying, that I guess other races couldn't do. So, and it goes to show you their homosexualized view from their standpoint, their homosexualized view of mainly black men. You know what I'm saying? Just looking at it, at black men in that way, man, where it's almost the almost from a fantastical point where they're fantasizing about us in different ways, man. It is really it's like if anybody has the book, it's in the book, I can't remember what page it is, but there's a postcard where a Frenchman, I'm not going to go, it's a graphic postcard that the French were sending back to France, with them involved with a black, with one of the black people that they had colonized. It's really gross. And
all of this stems back to the medieval.
Yes, sir.
All of this stems back to the medieval time. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. What you about to say, Doc?
Go ahead.
I want to touch on the bit where y'all were talking about the dude who was accused of the killings of the or the victim. Yeah. Just the concept of black male victimization, right? On the show, I was actually in a discussion with Adisa about black women not seeing us as a whole. I'm just saying as a whole. I didn't take a poll or anything or nothing like that. We just speaking. So I was just thinking, and I called Adisa and I said, you know, I'm thinking based on the conversations that I've had and the things that I'm reading, it seems as though some of our sisters fail to see us as human beings. So Adisa we took it upon ourselves to ask the question, ask certain women. And the response that we got, it was honest,
It was
but
very honest.
it was very honest. The response that we was getting, like some of the answer was like, fully developed human beings? Like, yeah, are you asking me as a black man? That's kind of like that's what they were saying. Like, and then more than one sister said that. You mean fully developed? And we like, yeah. And then we sort of got into a conversation with one sister, and I wanted to leave the question like just black and white, just like that. Sometimes Adisa, he wants to make sure that you have the complete, total picture. And I don't want that. I want you to be able to draw your own conclusion based off the question, whatever it is, however it is that you seem to want to take it. And that's what we were getting. So my question to you is, why do you think, or if you think, let me say that, our women fail to see us as human beings, or fail to see us or respect our victimhood, being able to be victimized? And I'm not celebrating being a victim. You know what I'm saying? I can really substitute the word victim from just being humans, because I'm one of those young men that you speak about, who from the ages of 8 to 10 years old, who was sexually assaulted by 3 to 5 women, forced to do oral sex on them. This is my story, and I'm not at all bashful to talk about it. Somebody asked me what my sign is. I don't care about giving you that. I would rather talk about things like this. But I'm unable to get from our female counterpart that's really me being victimized. So what do you say to that?
You see, but I'm not scared of the word victims. I mean, black men are the biggest victims in this country. We don't act like it. I mean, we push through a lot of stuff. We suppress a lot of stuff. But in terms of victim, that's what my writing's about, to get people to understand the human side of that. We are human, But when you have like Dr. David Livingston Smith, he's a colleague of Dr. Tommy Curry. If you ever look up his book called Making of Monsters, this is what he's talking about. What you talking about? When I did Pieces of a Man, I said Making of Monsters. Making a Monster. I believe that's the name of the book. But he's big time, bro. Like he goes in. He's a white guy, a European, but he's talking about what you're talking about, and when that they started looking at us as inhuman or monsters. So he goes into the medieval time. So when I did Pieces of a Man, I sent it to Tommy Curry. Tommy Curry tagged me, and we had a discussion, because a lot of what I was putting in Pieces of a Man was inspired by his Making of Monsters. The reason why they see us don't see us as humans. So I think the problem with how America's set up is when even immigrants come here, they get inculcated with not seeing us black men as human beings. I think that with the women that we're dealing with today, they've absorbed this ideology as well. They look at us as resources, look at us as something to gain from, to be used, to be utilized. But I think the problem is because they have this certain type of axiology here, and we looked at as a perpetual proletariat class of mules, backbone of this country. I think that they've absorbed a lot of this thing, but it's a lot of stuff that went into it. So when you look at David Livingston Smith's work, he goes right into the idea that etched into their minds of not looking at us as humans, and how that unfolded in policy, or how that unfolded to every walk of life, or different ethnicities that come here that start to absorb these ideologies. That's one of the reasons why the black feminist movement broke away from us, because they don't want to fight anymore. They wanted to, okay, well, look, they did this othering. We're not like, even though we're brothers and sisters and we have children with you, you're something different from us, or not wanting to be attached to this idea of what the white supremacists kind of looked at us as predators, as inhumane, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You know, I no, I'm sorry, Doc. Let me just jump in real quick. No, I was gonna say, and I want to, this is I want this answer from all of us that's on the panel tonight. Have any of you ever experienced the almost the invisibility, I would say, syndrome, or happening where, and I'll give you just to give you a couple examples. One day I'm at CVS, and I'm clearly in line. I'm the first person in line, and I'm holding some diapers, and the the cashier turns around and says, "Welcome to CVS. How are you?" And before I could say something, the black woman behind me says, "I'm fine," and then she go, "Oh, you was talking to him." You know what I'm saying? And I was like,
Yeah.
the fuck is that? You know what I'm saying? But then, and then at another juncture, I'm at Walmart, and I'm in line. I got my cart with with my boys' baby food in it, and I'm standing there. And while I'm standing there, an Indian couple come pushing right past me, and I grabbed their cart and I said, "Excuse me, I'm here. Oh, we sorry, we didn't see you. How the fuck you didn't see me? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you squeeze right past me, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?" And so it was like, I'm like, okay, if there's some type of invisibility thing that black men have going on where people feel like it's okay, it's either you're looking to provoke me or you just don't want to acknowledge me at all, whether black woman or any other race of people.
Yeah.
So has anybody ever
Oh
experienced
man.
Yeah,
Man, this is
I've
that was
experienced
part of my life. Yeah, exactly.
I thought
Riz,
that
you
was
never
standard. Yeah, I'm here. I'm
you
like,
say,
Yeah, because
you know,
Riz, because when Riz said, Riz had the coldest vision of that when he said, remember on the show, he said, it's like he's in the middle of a room tied up.
in the yes.
What
What was that?
what, what was
Did you
that you
say?
said? Riz?
yeah. Actually, I got that from Crimson Cure. Shout out to Crimson Cure. I got to credit her
Okay.
for that one. But the analogy was, the black man, just imagine he's in the middle of the room, sitting in a stool, and he has duct tape over his mouth. And everybody in this room wants to know about this man. And first, the white man speaks about him, then the white woman, then the black woman. Then we have platforms such as this one where the black man speaks for himself, and that is the virtual ripping of the tape off the mouth of the black man. And the black man is saying, they're all lying, including her, speaking of the black woman. So they're all lying about me. This is not me. This is not what I think. This is not how I feel. This is not how I act. This is not how I talk. So yeah, that was the analogy that I had brought up.
And I think I've experienced it in that realm while in college. That was the most where I experienced it. I wasn't supposed to be. I don't like talking about it like that, but I wasn't supposed to be able to say this. I wasn't supposed to be able to write this. I wasn't supposed to be able to do certain things. Because you hear about that. You hear about that. Other stories. You read about it. You see it in documentaries. But to physically sit there and watch a professor underline words that they don't think you should be using or that you should have in your vocabulary, that's a form of invisibleness, and from my perspective too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's been I think that's the black male experience in this country. I'm 6'4", and I marvel at being done like that at decent. Like when they pass me up, because I understand our experience here is to be the underclass, like especially if you're a black man. And what was big to me is I got a perspective on it because I do a lot of traveling around the world, and in Colombia, I was in Cartagena, and they treat the Venezuelans the same way, and it was a kind of like especially the Venezuelan men. It's like 2 million Venezuelan people in Colombia that had to that migrated over there, the refugees or whatever, and they treat them like, crap. But I got to experience going to the market, and just outside of what we're experiencing here, I got to see them treated like that. And it was redolent of how we're treated, or what we've been subjugated, this invisibility, because you're not even there. And it's crazy how different immigrants from around the world absorb and adopt these same things. When you're in line, passing you over, talking over, you have to be more assertive. You have to check people. You have to let them know that you're there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother. So, just to let you know, I know time is running late. We don't want to hold you. You have any more time for us, or you need to get out?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got a little more time? Okay, because I know it's getting late. I told you it'd be like 45 minutes. I think we've done an hour with you, so I don't want to, take up too much of your time. But I mean, we love having you here, man, with this conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, yes. I got a feeling this will not be the last time. Like, we're gonna see this brother.
No, he gotta come. He gotta come back.
He gotta come back.
I'm working on the 7th piece, and it's really dedicated to Detroit.
Really?
If y'all read The Other Side,
yes, sir.
It's piggybacking off The Other Side. So it was a lot of stuff that I couldn't put in The Other Side for the time constraint, and I was trying to have this certain brevity because my editor gets on me about being long-winded. But it's a lot of stuff that get left out on the cutting room floor when I'm doing these articles, because I'm working towards a book called Villainy and Culpability, and it's about the spectacle lynchings. To go further into the pieces of a man, I want to deal with the lynching and who are part of these lynchings, because you always see these pictures and these white faces, but they never tell you who they are.
Who they were.
You're right. Absolutely.
So what we're working on is a couple of grants so I can take off for a few months, 6 months to a year, to do the work that I really need to do in the research and gather some of the young people in certain universities that's researchers to help me find certain things, because the bigger body of work is villainy and culpability, when we put names to these faces and these spectacle lynchings, right? So you just want to look at those people there. No, they got a name. It was the milkman. It was the varsity head coach. They all have names.
It's the truth, man. Because
yes, sir. You're right.
Some of those motherfuckers are proudly posing because they know they have a name. We just never know their names.
But think about it. You don't have any works of people that put names to these faces. You got a lot of pictures.
You got lives.
No names.
It's books about lynchings, and we don't have no names.
Exactly.
We don't have no names.
I think that's truly important too. I mean, even in contemporary times, because we see a lot of heinous acts happen.
Yes,
and it's a lot of faces and no names, and it's like, well, we just write off. It's just racism. It's a small group. Yeah. However, these are human resource managers.
Yes,
right. These are people who are head of admissions.
Jerry Jones.
They're head of admissions at colleges.
Even
these
before
are loan
Jerry
officers
Jones.
at banks.
Yeah, so, even before Jerry Jones, your baseball coach.
Who?
Yeah. So, Cheryl and I had a book called On a Courthouse Lawn, and she talked about 5,000 lynchings in America and how these lynchings took place in a public sphere. Yep. That's largely where I got the idea to do Pieces of a Man, because there was a lot of spectacle lynching, meaning lynching in front of everybody. And I'm talking about, these were big events, man. This wasn't no 300 people. I'm talking about 10,000 people, 20,000 people.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Pamphlets.
And they try to cover over.
These were advertised.
Yes.
But
that's in the paper. It was an event. They had different economies working, like selling popcorn and T-shirts, like they do at baseball games. So my bigger work coming from that is leading up to that. But my next work is going to be like a part 2 to The Other Side, where I delve in. I found some great information about some young black men in the early 90s in Detroit. So I think you brothers are going to really love it. I'm going to start the article off with that. I'm delving into that more because it was a women's right group that railed against some of the things the brothers were doing in Detroit in the early 90s for black men and black boys. But I want to use that to piggyback off of The Other Side. It's more of the stuff that I couldn't fit into The Other Side.
So we were talking about lynches. I bought this book up because this was one of the books turned me on.
What
I
you
wanted
got without sanctions? What book is that?
to,
100 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Ralph Ginsburg. If y'all, if that,
Yeah,
I
you
hope
know
it,
I got it. Yeah,
I hope it's man shit. I hope it's
Yeah.
showing. Right. I don't know.
yeah we
we
can see
seen
it.
it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just it's 100 years of lynching, and I as a matter of fact, that was one of the books I told the sister to go read. I said, go read the book and see what happened to black men protecting black women and protecting their families.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even going back to civil rights women, you don't see women getting hit with water hoses or getting hit by dogs. They was leaning up against the wall while the brothers stood in front of them.
Stood in front. Yeah, we protected our women, man. And
That's why you shouldn't even entertain stuff like. Don't even go down that rabbit hole. You know what I'm
Nah.
saying? Because
Yeah, I'm
everything that
guilty
we
of it.
do
I'm
is
guilty of it. I'll say it. I'm guilty. I entertain it.
yeah, but you
Go ahead.
know, our whole sacrifice in this country has been behind women, the protection
sir.
of women, women and children. We know
That's
how
why
to
it's
do
so
that
hurtful,
better
though.
than anybody in this country.
Yeah. You know, yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's another question. Since you know, I was having a conversation with a brother of mine, and we was actually talking about education. So I don't think we should let you off of here without having you talk about the current educational system and how that affects young black males in the scope and from the perspective of your work.
Yeah, well, you know, in I believe it was the 5th article. Did you hear what they say? I kind of delved into that, especially in the Baltimore school system, where the young black men, the boys had the lowest reading grade. Was a reading below the average, and the resources or the lack thereof put into their education. The reason why I pointed out in Baltimore, because that's the most, like I say, glaring. It's all across America, but especially in Baltimore, more glaring of how they don't pour in resources to anything that helps black men and black boys. And this has been the order of the day for a minute, especially in the 1800s, because when we were free, they had a group of Quakers, millionaire Quakers. I placed in the article. Did you hear what they say? And I forget the guy's name who headed the Quakers, but it was called the Mohawk movement, right? Mm-hmm. The Mohawk movement was to create attract black men and black women into these different spheres of a society where we were supposed to be the proletariat class and never imagined to get above a 3rd or 4th grade education, and the women will be taught administrative work, or they'll be educated. And this is the late 1800s, right? Going into the 1900s, where they discussed Indian men and women and black men and women, and what their roles. And this is the white Quakers determining our education and our station in life. So that started early on when they decided that we were going to be hewers of wood and drawers of water, as the biblical pericope say, that we were just going to be here to labor, to do intense labor, while the women learn how to balance the books. The women will receive the education, and the thinking behind that is because they know that education lends itself to independence, and they know that when black men get educated, we become more independent and we become more self-determined and self-sufficient. When women get educated, that's not the case to uplift the community. Black men are more community driven. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, that's just what we do as men.
It's just what we do.
You know what I'm saying?
Sir.
As men, we naturally sacrifice our minds, our bodies, and everything is for the next generation or for our family. When they saw that back in the Mohawk movement, when they decided to educate the black women, they knew that black women did nothing for community. They don't do it now. I mean, Black Girl Magic, BET, hashtag Black Girl Magic, Black Excellence, really cold word for boule or black women bourgeoisie. But they know that when they give these women different stations or boost them up different stations in life, they don't care about no community. They care about maybe Meemaw or Mama and their kids. Right?
That's right.
They're not looking at it.
That's their nature.
Look, I'm not saying nothing that the orchestrators of this don't know. They know this. They knew what they were doing when they were feeding black women different social, political, and federal grants or
Yes, sir.
giving different money. They know that when you give women things, they don't help communities.
Right.
That's not helping your community.
No.
But when they
Right.
educated us, they knew that it lends itself to self-determination and we uplift our community. And if you, wherever you see, they know even now, wherever you see, let's just say Black Muslims or Muslim live, period, you have the most peaceful, productive area in that society. When we're left alone, and
Right.
you let Black men just,
History shows this.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And so this is why they disinvest in the education of Black men and Black boys. And that's why I wanted to open up the next article about Detroit and what we found, what we found in our research with Detroit, because it stems off of what I was writing in. It's a protuberance of what I was writing in Did You Hear What They Said, and still susses out that same pattern and not wanting to educate Black men because they knew what that meant and what it lent itself to when you educate us. So they give all the resources to the women because they know that doesn't help our race of people. You can give Black women everything you want to give them, they're still not going to help Black people because they don't share like that. That's not in their makeup. They're not community driven. We're community driven, and they help us with community. For the most part, I'm not saying women in particular, but for the most part, they know when you feed women things, it doesn't help Black women in particular because of our experience here and how we've been tracked and divided here. Our whole legacy here, they know that when you give women things, it doesn't amount to, saving a race of people.
Now, I just want to say, now that is from Mr. Bey here. because and I hope you get this heat, Mr. Bey. I hope you get it. Because I get it. I get it. And if you don't get it, I'm kind of gonna be hating on you, brother. Because I get the heat from the women, man. So y'all
we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that. They're gonna rail against this because people are loath to destroy a system that they benefit from.
Hey, tell us, oh boy, tell us, tell us about some. As a matter of fact, speaking of heat, because the brother does get heat, because I know of two interactions.
Oh, I done boxed the big wigs. I done boxed Nicole Hannah Smith, Feminista Jones.
Yeah, okay.
Feminista Jones, she's big, and we sparred a little bit on I believe Pete Rock Instagram. But I should send her some champagne because she helped move that article as well, make that article bigger as well.
Hey, tell us about your.
Well, me and Feminist Jones went at it about, I forget the topic. I think it was about when Aretha Franklin passed, and I forget the topic. But anyway, I had to delve. Her real name is not Feminista Jones. I forget her birth name, but I had to remind her that she is a self-proclaimed feminist, but I had to give her the origins of feminism and how it hit the American shores and exactly what particular act, and I forget, I'm drawing a blank on a particular act that was won to keep Black women in slavery to white women, feminists. And when Black women call themselves feminists, it's just an oxymoron. It's crazy because the feminists won legal battles to keep you into slavery to them.
Yes.
They felt like
so that's the killer argument. That's the death blow that I use. Whenever we're talking about feminism, they always want to go around in circles. But I'm gonna try to find it before we get out of here. But it was a particular law that was passed that when Native American women argued that they weren't a part of white society and they were able to keep their slaves, their property, because Native American women owned, then white women got upset and they were appalled that Native American women won, and they went back and they battled for it, and they ended up their arguments was keeping Black women in slavery as their property. And this is a part of the feminist movement.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, tell us about your. I seen you have also a run-in with Judge Joe Brown before.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was a few years back, man. We traded a few blows, and he was talking about reparations. It was like This was before the pandemic, and
Yes, sir.
it was about. You remember when they had the chicken commercial about Popeyes coming out with the chicken sandwiches?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And it was a big deal when they were showing black people in line and fighting over chicken, and they were picking like 5 videos and making them go viral, making it bigger than what it really was. You know how they do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even if it was 10 videos, I mean, we have 40-some million black people in this country. Come on. But
Right.
anyway, he tried to spin that chicken commercial and that thing saying that, well, we have the nerve to ask for reparations. And I was like, man, what the hell they got to do with anything?
Anything. Right.
We have the nerve to ask for reparations. And anyway, I took him to task and course corrected him. So once we went at it, he understood how the senility in his statement was. Yes. Because he was just, I had to take him out of his conservatism. Because every now and then, judges.
But he always did.
I got love for Judge Joe Brown because he's about manhood and black male advocacy.
Yes, he is.
He can be about real stern and big conservative in a lot of ways. But for the most part, he's for black manhood, and I appreciate.
I had to learn that.
I had to learn that. Yeah, we went at it, and I had to kind of get his mind right because he was in his character. I'll say that. Yeah, I had to get him out of his character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how you said that because it was really, reading about him and reading certain quotes and different things that he would say. I was quite flummoxed and perplexed as like, where is he coming from? But I like how you put it in talking about his character because well, a lot of stuff that he talk about with black boys and black men, I'm like, no, I agree with that. He couldn't have put it better myself.
Judge Joe Brown is. Man, he's a heavy hitter. It's just, because he done work with Tariq Nasheed. He held the eulogy online for brother Kevin Samuels with the Black Manosphere. You know what I'm saying? He, it's like I said, you're not going to agree with everybody. It's all about coming to an overlapping consensus, right? So we can disagree about a lot of stuff, but we got to find an overlapping consensus and a ground to which we can build on. I'm not politically, me and like a brother like Judge Joe Brown may different in a lot of ways because I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm more of whatever benefits our community, right?
Should
that's how everybody should be.
Yeah,
right. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't need to play that binary game. I took the philosophy dialectic, and then they train you against this binary thinking, the either or situation. You need to think, and then sometimes it ain't either or. That's the game that they run. That Roland Martin and all the other guys, and what's the brother that's on Roland Martin? What's my guy? I forget his name. He's an alpha as well.
I know what you're talking about. No,
but he has a little segment on Roland Martin's show.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He interviews Dr. Gerald Horn.
Yeah,
but Judge Joe Brown is real conservative in a lot of ways, but he got a lot of good work, man, and he's about manhood and just protection of black men and black boys and teaching men how, and I like that, but sometimes he I think that he's not pushed enough. I'll say that. Yes. I don't think he have young bucks around him pushing.
Yeah, he knows what's going on. He know where his bread gets buttered.
Yeah, exactly.
He got to be careful.
Exactly.
He got to be careful.
And that was the Judge Joe Brown show.
Yeah.
He was a bootstrapper on that.
Because a couple weeks ago, we were having a conversation, and Dr. brought up the point that there isn't a label for deadbeat mothers like there's a label for deadbeat dads. You don't never hear a deadbeat mom or deadbeat mother. Or you know what I'm saying? You always hear, deadbeat fathers.
Which there definitely are a bunch of deadbeat mothers. I mean, a lot of these, it takes two to tango, I'll say that.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. And also, we never really hear, because getting back on the topic of black male victimization, we never really hear, because Dr. mentioned about his abuse as a young man. I had my abuses as a young man, and we never hear. And I know of plenty brothers that had their abuses.
Plenty.
That had their abuses at the hand of black women
Black women.
had
I mean, wait a
never.
minute.
Go ahead.
Can you name 5 that happened right offhand?
That's what I was saying, Riz. Like if you take 10 of our friends and we just because we didn't really talk about these things. And I think that's what the thing is. I was just listening to something that Thomas Curry was saying. He was saying that we don't talk about them. There's not a platform for us to get together and actually talk about our experiences. And he also was talking about how the Me Too movement sort of was a reintroduction into Jim Crow, uh,
Yeah.
based on the concepts of you saying this happened, and just as an accusation, men being punished just off of mere accusation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? So if we ask 10 of our friends, I'm willing to bet that at least 4 of them have been abused.
And I can name 5. I'm looking at their faces right now. I don't want to say them because because I'm on here, but I tell you like this: the conversations that carry on inside barbershops, where brothers
Hmm.
talk about the relationships, the hardened relationships, or the difficulties they have dealing with their mothers. I can name those people like right off bat because I've seen them, these brothers. Have to suck it up. I'm gonna say they would suck it up because of their love for their mother, and she can do something to them, and they would just say, "Yo, that's still my mom. I don't want to act like that." After she has put them through the traumatic experiences that she has put them through, and I know I'm one who would say, yeah, that's still my mother, or that's still, you know, you know what I mean, because it was what I was mainly raised around were a bunch of women, and it always seemed as if I would become the punching bag, at some
Mm.
point that would get the blame for things that would go wrong. So, no, yeah, I can name them, and not just off my experience, but just people that come to the barbershop who sit in my chair and talk about, man, this Mother's Day, man, I don't want to go over here, man. This lady ain't treat me like shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But I that's my mom. I'm gonna get her some flowers. I'm gonna go over there and say hi to her, and leave. And then you'll hear some brothers come back the next week like, man, my mom didn't even say thank you when I gave her the roses, and she act like I did something to her when I was a kid. So you hear those things. But just to the question, question is, why do you think that we don't have those labels? But we don't talk about that much for young black boys who are abused and experience abuse, or men who are young black boys who experience abuse from their mothers.
I think because our family structure has been, because of policies, because of and I'm gonna point to a certain case that flipped everything around. It's the Elizabeth Keys case in 1666, around mid 1600. But to answer your question directly, we come from a matrifocal society, right? Where the
Yes.
women are taught to be, it's really a gynocracy.
Yes, it
See,
is.
we do. It's really that's what it really is. It's where the
Yes,
women
sir.
are the patriarchs.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Period.
And it's so gynofocal that the women can do no wrong. I was watching an interview about the guy that played Juana Man. Was that Miguel Nunez?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was talking about his mom, but he was one of the only ones that kept it 100. And he talked about his mom writing for James Brown, how talented she was, but they asked her how did she get into the industry, and she basically said, basically she was getting ran through by men, like she was a hoe, but he said it,
Right.
because a lot of people are even scared, like even with Tupac, with the Dear Mama,
Yes.
even though she was a crack fiend mom, he's still a black queen, but we don't get that leeway. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like
yes.
we're taught to
Yes.
that, like women are got a lot of, that was the whole Antoine Fisher movie.
Yes,
It
sir.
shows you how hard she was
That
treated
was
by
hard for me to
black
watch.
women.
Yeah.
Yes, but you see that, you notice the takeaway ain't what we're talking about though. But that is the takeaway from that movie. But they
Yes.
won't never break that movie down into seeing how deadbeat these black women were and how abusive black women are or
Yeah.
were. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's because we come out of a gynofocal society where we're taught to be obsequious or sycophantic simps to women. You know, they're raised.
Yeah.
Hold
on.
I didn't mean to laugh.
Hold on.
You said
What type of
sycophantic.
sense?
Yeah. We're raised to be quizzlings to black women. You know, and you know, you got son husbands and husband sons, right?
Yeah.
So women, you know, when they can't get a man, they pour into their black sons to be basketball players or whatever, so they can ride their coattails as a resource and never have to get with a man. And they just ride off a resource and they can go philander and gallivant, but yet, you know, ride off the resources of the son. He's more like a workhorse or a resource that's like a son husband. And they treat their husband like a husband son, where this is just for mating and whatever, but they treat him like a son. You know, but I think that this is the ideology behind Medea's movies and Big Mama's House. All of this matriarchal structure that they started that Daniel Patrick Moynihan was trying to rail against in his writings to change to be able to give more to black men so we can become more patriarchal, or the paterfamilias, the patriarch of the family. You know what I'm saying? So I think the reason why a lot of our abuse is muzzled is because a lot of men don't have the temerity to speak against the deadbeatism of their mom or the women that we come from, you know, because like I said, it takes two to tango. And a lot of black fathers get bad raps because it was just a sex thing, right? But when the women have the kids, they won't keep it 100 with the kids, you know, about what it was or what it was supposed to be, you know. I meant, like, I'm gonna give you a person, just personally, you know, I have a son. He's 22 years old. You know, we talk about a lot of things, and I just keep it 100 with him. He wasn't planned, and that doesn't mean I didn't take care of him. I'm just saying you wasn't planned. Right. I was told one thing. I was the understanding of one thing, and something else happened. Right. But I still, you know, I could have took the other route and say, hey, look, man, you know, we had this understanding. She broke the agreement. You know, she said she couldn't have kids. I say that, you know, we weren't ready. We were in college or whatever the case may be, you know. And if she didn't want to have a kid for that reason, then it's all good. But if I didn't want to have a kid for that reason, I would have been lampooned and lambasted, right? Yes. But I was under the understanding of something that wasn't it. But yet, you know, I manned up and I did what I had to do. But I don't even knock the brothers that don't, especially if you have a understanding in that contract is broken. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all got to get. I'm sorry, Mr. Bey. I'm sorry. Y'all got to get Mr. Bey too. I'm sorry, Mr. Bey. I had to cut you off. Y'all got to get him too.
He's putting you out there, man.
This is not
you
fair,
said they got to get him.
They got to get him, man. Y'all, come on. Y'all got to get Mr. Bey too. He got to take some of these lands.
But you know, but you see, we having a brother-to-brother conversation when it comes to, like, you know, Adisa know, man, you know, a lot of these women know not to play with me. Like, in terms of, you know, no, for real, because what are we talking about? Are we going to be, or you just going to mudsling, or are we going to really have a conversation?
You're right.
You know, you get what I'm saying? Like, we can, I'm not participating in no slinging. Well, we only here to talk about the source of the problem.
Yes, sir.
So whenever I hear these old tropes and the bromides of feminism, I know what I'm hearing because I know where all of it come from. So when you Paul parroting certain things that's been said for decades, then I can teach you where it comes from and try to course correct you. But if you just want to men bad all day, fuck it. I ain't talking.
I hear
you. You know what I'm saying? I can educate you and help you understand, and we can work through this. But if you just seek to just male bash, then that's just what it is. I ain't worried about that. I'm never gonna give that energy. You know, what we do is we demonstrate. That's what we doing now. We demonstrate.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't mudsling. I mean, they attack me too. They've been attacking me for years, but I don't give much, you know, attention, or you know, I don't give that audience, you know, a stage or whatever. And I always use it as a teachable moment. I don't look at it as a mudsling, because I'm not gonna mudsling. You got to know what you're going to engage in and what you're not going to engage in.
Yes, sir.
You know, but if it's the time to teach, and it's the time to teach, then you got to keep in mind that when we demonstrate, we got other people watching. So it may not be for the person you're going at, but it's to demonstrate for the audience.
Yes, sir. We got about 10 minutes left, brother. And I really want to close this on a really, really good note. Can Let me see. Because I mean you went so hard tonight, man, and I really appreciate it. I mean, no, seriously, I really appreciate it. I just want to talk a little bit more about the educational system and black boys and some of okay, well, you and I we talk about uh people like I don't like to put a black man down, but the the we talk about Umar Johnson and some of the things that he do are it, with the current landscape of education and black male leadership. We know, like Minister Farrakhan, he's older, and we don't see a lot of men of that ilk standing up. I think we have brothers here that are like that, but we don't have the public presence that that a Minister Farrakhan has, and then now people like Umar Johnson has. Do you think that they're with the man? I hate to put it like this. With the face been out there of Umar Johnson, is it? Do you think our young black men have a lot of that? Do they have someone that they can look up to? Can you give us some new faces or new directions in which our young brothers can look in the public sphere to find better black leadership? Because I don't want to say Dr. Umar is a bad leader, but he's
Man,
not.
look, let's talk about it, bro.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I have no compunction to talk. Like, I spoke with Mansa the other day. Mansa the Moor. Y'all don't know him. He was the Moors in court back in the day. That was demonstrated 15 years ago. He got like 5-10 million hits on that. We did an interview about Pieces of a Man last year when it dropped. And he's a part. He knows Red Pill.
I saw your interview with that. I saw your interview with the brother.
Yeah, but he's real big in the conscious community. He brought in Red Pill, Blue Pill, Sabir Bey, all of Dr. Taj Tariq Bey. He come out of that camp, and we've been tight for like 7 years, right? And we talked about Tariq Nasheed, and with Dr. Umar, I've been to a few of his lectures. We gotta look at these pivot points of transition.
Yes, sir.
When he was talking about being a psychologist, driving for young black men and black boys, and how the feminists remonstrated against this all black boys school. Minus of when it was going to happen and do we have it. If you looked at how they attacked him, it was the same thing that I'm going to write about Detroit. The pattern never stops. But in terms of Dr. Umar, man, let's just keep it 100, man. And a lot of guys in the manosphere know what happened to Dr. Umar because now he's Big Papa, right? My thing is, Dr. Umar, when did you transition and start talking about low frequency shit like relationships? Because when we started watching Dr. Umar, he was black childhood, black men, black boys.
So yes, sir.
Taking shots like that's what drawing us into him.
Yes, sir.
But word has it in the academic community is he got flipped as well. So when they threatened to take his license, that's when he started talking like he's talking right now. So cats in the manosphere, and to nail that into your question, you got a lot of brothers like it's a brother named Green Gorilla. He got a lot of good stuff. T. Hassan Johnson, real good brother. He teaches out on the West Coast. These are black leaders. But these are some of the black leaders that you have them right here in us. You have them in certain spheres like the manosphere. Tariq Nasheed doing some good work. If you get away from his buffoonish antics sometimes, and look at his
the Mink slide.
Mink slide, all that rapscallion shit. But I ain't knocking him because at the end of the day, you got to look at the overlapping consensus of the good stuff that come out of what he does, But I'm saying that I brought that up to say that in the academic community, they know that Dr. Umar got flipped, that they threatened him to take his license, and this is why he's talking like he's talking. because you see it's a stark difference from when he went on Roland Martin's show in 2017 till now.
To now, absolutely.
It is a stark difference. Yes, it is.
Yes.
I can't even
So
listen
they
to him
threatened
now.
his license, and that's why he started talking about low frequency shit like relationships.
Yeah, and
You're
blaming
academic. You talk about relationship issues.
Yeah, he's actually taking the mantle of blaming black men for a lot of the fault.
That's what I say. He would
that's
further pivot. That's one thing he made a further pivot. But at that point, when black men started asking for what happened to the money, where's the school, and his donators became single black mothers.
Yeah.
So but that's when his conversation changed.
Yeah, but then when he first had his scandal was with a stripper in Vegas. So you know you're doing all of this placating to black women because they come see you, and I get it. You're playing to your market, right? You know these women, they support you. They come out, but I mean, let's be honest, man. You're not the hallmark of black manhood and responsibility. Like if you want to be a 100, if we look at his background. And I'm not here to do that. I'm just saying that it's kind of like Steve Harvey trying to tell you
exactly.
About man.
Good point. He said,
you know what I'm saying?
And yes, like, come on. 15 times. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I'm more concerned with why doesn't Dr. Umar talk about the things he used to talk about in terms of them getting black boys on medicine, them diagnosing them with this, them pushing them into special ed. What happened to that? That's the question.
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And yet, brothers, before we close up, we got 5 minutes. Anybody else got anything for the brother before we close up with the final word?
No, that's it, brother. I mean, he gave us a belly for it, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I didn't speak too much. Just let that breathe. Let that brother go. That's the easiest interview ever.
Yeah,
this don't work.
Sir. Yes, sir. Man, this was, brother.
I appreciate you brothers having me, man. I've been waiting for a couple weeks for this,
Yeah,
we appreciate having you, man.
For me.
Man, thank you.
Man, I've been trying to get you on for a minute, man. I think I reached out to you a while, way long ago when I was doing the other podcast. But
you let me know about this idea years ago. You told me about this. I'm glad to see it come to fruition. Yes, you telling me about when you conceived of it.
Mm-hmm. I sure did, brother. That's beautiful. I'm glad you remember that. That's beautiful. Thank you for remembering that too, brother. So the thing that we do before we go, man, is and as a matter of fact, I think what we'll do tonight, I think me, Doc, and Red is gonna be quiet. We just let you have a
that's what I was thinking. We're gonna say
the flow.
Yep. You got the flow.
You close us out, brother.
Okay. In terms of I'm working on my 7th article. It ought to be out by Labor Day, no later than Labor Day. You can go to moreshimper.com for my past articles. You can go to Moreshimper for my Instagram, Mu'sab Yasir Bey for Facebook, and Mu'sab Yasir Bey for X, formerly known as Twitter. I got a couple of interviews coming out with some brothers from the Chi-Town that I did for Juneteenth. And I wanted to talk about that with the shirt, but we'll do that next time. But we did a Juneteenth program. They hadn't put it out yet because they've had some difficulties. But got a few things, and we're working on an audio podcast with Pieces of a Man, where it just be the audio with interviews interspersed in certain parts of the audio with the soundtrack in the background. Because I'm kind of getting out of the podcast thing. I really want to focus on the writings and bringing them to the high plateau through the audio, where you can ride to them and listen to somebody reading to you. Yeah. So I thought that was a good idea. But other than that, we just working. Popping up on different people's platforms. I contributed to a number of podcasts. I write for a number of podcasts, the Gentleman History Hour. I still have the material from the Safe House. We're still helping young brothers carry on the Safe House tradition. So they coming out with a platform called the Safe House 2. They're younger brothers, so I'm going to help them out with that. And we just, moving, man. That's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother.
I greatly appreciate you brothers having.
Man, listen, we greatly appreciate you, brother. This interview was everything I thought it would be years ago when I first approached you about it. So I thank you so much, man, for that, man. And I'm pretty sure, I know my brothers, we're gonna once we get off here, we're probably gonna call each other like, man, this brother just killed it. You know what I'm saying? So
I want to come back on too, man. I want to come back on with you, brother.
Yes, sir.
You have an open invite. You just have to hit it decent.
you just let me know, man. You know, you don't even gotta ask me, brother. Say, look, brother, I want to come on. That's it. You don't even ask no more, brother. You tell me when you want to come on.
Yeah,
right.
Just pop up.
Just you know, you can just pop up. Hey, send me the link. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever we got going on, we'll push back, bro.
Yeah, yes, sir.
You're on the front line. You're doing the work, man.
Because we appreciate that, man. We love Black intellectuality, and I can't thank you enough. So I appreciate you, brother. And it's finally good to make a visual acquaintance with you too, as well, brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, brother.
I appreciate you having me, bro.
We appreciate you, brother. We do.
Yeah. All right, brother. You have a good night, man. Thank you, y'all. And to the Reconnect audience, thank y'all. We appreciate y'all. Peace.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.